I'm Nana Firman. I'm the co-founder of Global Muslim Climate Network. My faith is Islam. I'm a Muslim, and as a Muslim, we believe that the Quran says that we have to walk gently upon the earth, meaning that we're not making any destruction on the earth where we live on earth. And we have a lot of our brothers and sisters around the world that already suffer from different disasters around the world, as well as droughts, that they're having hunger everywhere. Many years ago, when I was in college, I was taking a class that had to talk about rainforests, and I realized there's a lot of rainforest destruction was done because of the food industry. So I realized that the way I ate meat at that time, that actually affecting the rainforest. And as an Indonesian, the home of rainforest as well, I was worried that all the rainforest in my country would be gone. And taking action is difficult at the beginning. So I stopped eating meat for the whole month, and I couldn't do it. So I took one step at a time. I reduced every week, every month, every week, and then every day, and then finally I figure out how to live without eating meat. It is hard, and especially when you go out with friends, because everybody's going to a restaurant or a place to eat where there's meat, and then there's not that many options. But nowadays, I think it's getting easier and easier. And in my faith, that is still a struggle, but just several years ago, I heard the story of our beloved prophet, peace be upon him, that he himself only ate meat 2 or 3 times a year. So that makes me feel so good that actually I am following his path. I'm trying to eat as much as possible the food that I grow myself. So I'm trying to grow vegetable as much as possible. Also, there's a tradition from one of our prophets, David, peace be upon him, that he only ate the food that he grew. So I was very inspired with that story, and I'm trying to do as much as possible to grow my own food.
Great. Hi, viewers around the world. My name is Tosin Kolaole, and I welcome you to my Earth story, my climate story. Today we're featuring Nana Firman. Well, Nana Firman needs no introduction, but for the purpose of people who are just meeting up for the first time, Nana Firman is a Green Faith Fellow. She's the recipient of the Alfredo Secret Memorial Green Ring Award, and that was given by Vice President Al Gore at the last Climate Reality Leadership COP. That's the global training, and this was an award given to deserving climate activists around the world, people who are exceptional, have exceptional commitment to their roles as climate communicators and activists around the world. Thank you for joining us today, Nana Firman.
Thank you, Tosin. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great to have you join us. Yeah, I think it's very important for us to know. There's a saying that, behind every greatness, there's a story. Nana Firman, what is your story in terms of environmental responses and climate change advocacy?
Well, Tosin, thanks again for inviting me. So I'm originally from Indonesia, but I live now in the United States. So the part where I was born in Indonesia is in the eastern part of Sumatra island. It's called Jambi, which is the home of the Sumatran tiger, and it's the home for the rainforest. So this story, like I've heard over and over during growing up, even though I was raised and like went to school and everything in Jakarta, the capital city. But like all my families, my uncle especially call me like a jungle girl, just to remind me that where I was born, I guess. So, but I was like, kind of like I thought it was a bully when I was a little, because they're making fun of me. But then it's kind of like sinking to me, like, and also like the way my father told the story that he used to be on the forest for I think almost 3 years or 4 years when he was like very young. And then like he told story like he one time he was walking and he saw head to head with the tiger, but then the tiger went to the right and then he went to the left. So like but he said like that's like experience in his life when he was like very young, like teenagers, I think. So it was kind of like fascinated to me, and then always like talking about tigers, like the elephant, those. And then we took also like uh, uh, uh like a drive from that part of like when I was visiting. So my parents always make sure like I visited the place where I was born when I was. And then but my family is originally from the western part of Sumatra, so my grandparents lived in the western part of Sumatra. So one time, usually we fly with airplanes, but that time my dad said, okay, let's go like by road. But that was a dirt road. I mean, like coming from the city, I was like, wow, like, it's kind of like I felt, of course, back then there is no Indiana Jones story, but I felt like, wow, like it was kind of thrill for like a young, a young child at that time. Like, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old. So, so it was kind of like, I, I I just took everything for granted. Like went to visit my grandparents. Always there's like all the volcanoes, so beautiful, everything, and even like I live in the city, but my family sometimes like on the weekend took us to the mountain area, which is like an hour and a half from Jakarta. It's called Puncak. So like for me, it's like I just took everything for granted. My mom like always like planting, plants, trees. She just loved like plantings. Like, if people ever come to my house in Jakarta, it's like a rainforest. It's so green. So, but then also my father, he liked to build houses, and on the backyard of our house, in the garden under it, there is like an absorption well. So
Okay.
yeah, retaining like to retain water. And then I was just wondering like why back then it was not, it was not a compulsory, that's not a trend. He just did it, uh even though like now it's I think like a compulsory because of climate change, I think part of it. But he built it, and I said like why, why do you build it? And then he said, oh, so then we make to ensure that the water is absorbed back to the earth, so then the future generation is not going to, like have water scarcity, run out of water. So I thought like, okay, that's cool. But that's the thing. I grew up with just taking everything for granted, never really thought about it. I think like until I was in in high school, I joined the nature's lover group, like hiking and stuff to the mountain, and then joined science club trying to like do like making perfume from the flower extract. But I was like trying to be cool, but I've never like thought about it like deeply because I just took everything for granted. I guess like at that age you just think everything is like that. So until I was in college, I took like I mentioned in the video, I took this class, and I had to like do the to read the about the Amazon.
Yeah.
Uh, then I was like so shocked. I was like, oh my God, like
mm,
Amazon, like, like how they destroyed. And I remember that I'm I'm also from the rainforest. What
mm,
happened if we can do this to the Amazon? They probably could do this to the rainforest in my country too. So that's like I was like, "Oh, I have to do something about it." That's why I decided to like like reduce my meat consumption, because I realized why they destroyed the rainforest at that time.
mm,
Just to open for the ranch, like to grow, like cattle range. So and then like as I go along, I studied industrial design. I studied in the U.S. and then also my master in urban design. So then I came back to Indonesia after I finished my study as a regional planner.
okay.
uh, I did a like planning and designing cities. And but Indonesia is on the like what it's called the ring of fire, because we had three plates like kind of like colliding together. So we had a lot of earthquake. It's like earthquake upon earthquake,
Mm,
and so many volcanoes. But then it's also so beautiful. So when I was doing that, designing cities, I worked with like a group of amazing geological team, and they explained to me like where like like all this earth movement and everything. And so I learned, and I realized that it was very, it was very important for me to understand that, to design cities and like region in Indonesia, like to understand about this earth movement.
mm,
But then that's I thought it was just that, like, but I didn't even know that just like ahead from that I was being challenged with a new thing, because there's a big earthquake and tsunami happened in Aceh, which is the northern part of
mm,
Sumatra. And I was called upon by the largest conservation organization, the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, to kind of join their team to
mm,
like scoping mission, to see what what could we give advice for their future program, because
mm,
that's completely changed at that time because of the disaster. So the plan was like just being there, on the team 3 to 4 months, but I ended up staying for 4 years because they
mm,
asked me to complete the program. So that is another challenge, because then like I was being tasked to lead the green reconstruction
mm,
program, which is to ensure that the reconstruction, the recovery, the rehabilitation was done on a sustainable way. So, and it was that was I think my kind of head to head with people. Like before, I was just like, okay, this is cool. This is I do it for myself.
mm,
But then I realize now it's like I had to do it with the community, and then the
mm,
community like, no, we don't want like sustainability. We want our house to be rebuilt. And these
mm,
are the people that just lost their family and everything.
mm, mm,
So how would I, like talk about sustainability to them? And at that time, I was still using like jargon, like sustainability, like like for to ensure that conservation is done and it's not going to destroy the forest, those things. And like so I was frustrated almost a year. Nothing, like it seems like they didn't get me, and so I was very frustrated. And then a friend of mine told me, hey, like the people of Aceh, they're very devout Muslims, so
okay.
why don't you use the Islamic teaching? And I'm like, yes, I was born Muslim, but I never even thought about using the Islamic teaching on like engaging this issue. So then I said, oh well, why not? So I started to explore. Like I, open the Quran and like learn again about the Sunnah, the tradition of the Prophet and the Hadith. So then I was like, I was so amazed that I found so many
Mm,
that. So I use that. And
mm,
then I use that, and I use that to communicate with people. And, somehow the people got it, because
mm,
I was speaking on the language that they understand. And that's very dear. They really like, like see their faith like an important, as important thing in their life. So then I was like, wow, And me also for myself, I was amazed because I'm a Muslim. How come I'm not even like using this? So from that on, I just like kind of fall in love with that. So I explore, and then like like of course working in WWF, we heard about climate change. And 2007 Indonesia was the host for COP,
Mm,
so we were helping out about that. And I was very heavy working on the forest issue, like to stop the conversion and also the deforestation. And then 2009 I was selected to be trained by Mr. Gore, by Al Gore in Australia. So then after that I was just like involved like more and more. And then 2011 I remember like we asked Mr. Gore if we can use like our faith, like tradition, our religious teaching to communicate to people about climate change. And he said yes, please do so. So
mm,
then you're just like with my colleague from Indonesia, we're just on to that. And then like 2012 I moved to the US, because like following my husband. But then like in the US I didn't know what to do because I was like just I thought like yeah I like it's kind of like starting all over again.
mm.
And yeah, but then I met with Reverend Fletcher Harper, but I was already following Green Faith at that time online. And then so I met him in Berkeley. uh,
But sorry, by the way, who is Green Faith?
so Green Faith is an international interfaith organization for environment and climate action. And so he said, "Hey, we have the a fellowship program. Would you like to join?" And I thought, well, since I didn't know anyone yet, I thought that's like a good way for me to like to kind of like make friends and network, and learn also from other faith leaders. Even though I'm not a faith leader, but I thought like, hey, why not? So that's like kind of like also cultivating me on that. So now I'm just like all over the place. I've been involved with Islamic Society of North America, trying to develop the Green Mosque initiative, and also like greening the Ramadan, uh, like practice. And I got involved also with the Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change in 2015 in Istanbul, Turkey. Yeah.
Wow, wow, awesome, awesome, impressive, incredible stories. Thank you so much. This is awesome. In your story, I could pick that there was a time you mentioned that you seem to have like some early exposure to nature through your parents, your father traveling here and there. But you said something consistently like you took it for granted. Could that also be some of the story that people around the world we seem to live in, like a bubble where we feel like the environment is disconnected from us? So yeah.
Yeah, I think so, Tosin. Especially, I think if you're like, like if you come from the place where it's very rich in nature,
Mm,
that I didn't even realize that Indonesia has like, like a mega biodiversity, actually like head to head with Brazil in terms of the number of biodiversities in the world. So well, I found out about that when I was working in WWF, and I'm like, how come we didn't even know this? And then we live in Indonesia, so that's like part of my mission now to educate my own people. Like, hey, do you know about that? So that's I think like we just take it for granted because we thought it's going to be there forever.
mm, mm,
Like I always
mm,
like my parents took us, like to visit my grandparents. Oh, it's going to be there, the nature, the beauty,
mm,
the lakes,
mm,
the
mm,
the mountains. We never thought it's going to be destroyed or like we thought it's just going to be there forever. That's until we realize that what we do is actually affecting the nature, what we eat, what we use, the way we run our lives is actually affecting, because they're all the we need the natural resources to like to go day by day. And
mm,
where do we get it? How do we get it? Did we ever think about it? That's the thing. I think people didn't think about it until the nature or the natural resources itself, it's gone, then
mm,
or disaster happened, like a big flash flood or
mm,
a forest fire, or
mm.
it's a drought happen, and they realize, oh, we lost that. Like how? I mean, see, that's the thing. I think like we need to educate children, youth, since they're young, that everything that we do has a connection to the nature, because everything that we use is come from nature. So if we take care of nature, then nature will take care of us as well.
Wow. If we take care of nature, nature will take care of us. I read a quote by one of it was a governor in of Lagos State in Nigeria, some two administration back, and he said something very instructive that the environment is the economy. Are we so much? Wait, there's a huge drive to get, like you said, all the natural resources. We just want it in one generation, and we seem to care less what future generation would meet in. I mean, perhaps maybe we are leaving money in the banks for them. Will
Mhm.
money be enough to sustain people in the future?
Yeah. So I like this quote from the Native American that we don't inherit the world from our ancestor, but we
Mm,
borrow it from our children. So I think like that's also that we like, like it's kind of uh like people didn't really think about it, and that we like what we like, like all our behavior is actually affecting, that it takes time for nature to replenish.
mm,
So when we try to consume or take something, we need to think that how much do we need. We just take something that we need, and actually we have to get like return back to nature. So when I was living in Aceh, in like in the tsunami affecting area, I learned a lot, because there's a lot of the like like local wisdom. I think in every traditional like like communities around the world, or indigenous peoples, there's all these gems that we haven't cultivate,
mm,
and
mm,
somehow we kind of like forget about it, because we are trying to see everything like, okay, we want progress, we want development, and we just kind of like, oh, that's an old thing, just left behind. But there's a lot of this like teachings, like even in their culture, that
mm,
when the baby was born, the father has to plant a tree.
mm,
So like, and I said like, why? Because when like the tree, so it's like a hardwood tree, he has to plant it. So like by the time the child is about like 20-25 years old,
yeah.
you can harvest the tree and you can build the house for the child. I was like, wow. So then the child is going to do that again. So you don't even like, like I said, like, wow, how come like we don't do that anymore? That is a good teaching. And also like, I think like in the traditional communities, they only take what they need.
Mm,
They only take what they need. They don't take like more, or like from like like kind of like just hoarding it, but
mm,
they take what they need and then they actually give back. Like I'm fascinated now with all different traditional teachings, that
mm,
they're very conscious actually with the future, because then I think like the Native American, again, like you have to think of 7 generation up and 7 generation down, so you
wow.
make sure you don't destroy that. That's enough for the next 7 generation. So how about that? Like we probably, when we take, we like nowadays we don't even think of our children that like how
Mm,
our children is going
mm,
to survive. So I think like this kind of teaching has to be like revived. In, of course, like we can make it like more like towards like today's, like condition.
mm,
So then we can translate that, like how can we do that in this, like in today's context. So I also like have that kind of thing. And I think all those knowledge, it should be considered knowledge, because a lot of this knowledge is somehow have struggled to be considered knowledge because they're not scientific.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think like when the scientific communities can go like hand on hand with the like with the indigenous peoples or the traditional societies, then like that's going to be great, because then you can prove it with science, but as well as you can like you also do it because there is a lot of wisdom on that. So that's like that wisdom that we are somehow lose it at this time, that we need to grab that back to our society around the world.
Wow, thank you. So indigenous wisdom are required. They should be part of the scientific researches and the wisdom you found
Yes,
in order to address holistically the impact of climate change. Wow,
yes,
wow. Thank you.
yeah.
This is deep. Thank you so much for being with
Yeah.
us today, Nana. There's we can be here 1 hour sharing with you. I thank you for your passion. And before you leave, there's a quote and a prayer that I like to share with people who come on this platform. I also want to share with you. It's positive thoughts to you on your life journey as you walk on to preserve our planet. So I say to you, and Nana, we thank you for all. We thank all those who have moved in their lives to heal and to protect the earth in small and in large ways. Blessings on the composters, the gardeners, the advocates, the breeders of worms and mushrooms, the soil builders, those who cleanse the water and purify the air, all those who clean the messes that others have made. Blessing on those who defend the trees, who plant trees, who guard the forest, who renew the forest. Blessing on all those who learn to heal the grassland and renew the stream, on those who prevent erosion, who restore the salmon and the fisheries, who guard the healing herbs, who know the law of wild plants. Blessing on all those who heal the cities, who bring them alive again with excitement and creativity and love. Gratitude and blessings to all who stand up against greed, who risk themselves, to those who have fled and who have been wounded, and to those who have given their lives in service of the earth. Thank you so much, Nana.
Tosin, can I just add one thing?
Yeah, yes, please.
So I like to use this like kind of to like do a reflection, like even though this is like I'm using from the Islamic teaching, that
Yes, please.
so the word ayat in
Mm,
Arabic
mm,
means verses. So
mm,
as Muslim, we usually like refer that ayat to the verses in the Holy Quran.
mm,
So that's like the scripture, and every like Muslim knows that. But then the word ayat also means signs of God in nature.
mm,
So imagine if someone were to erase one verse in the Holy Quran, I bet there's going to be an outrage among Muslims around the world. How dare you?
mm,
But yet, like due to all this destruction on our ecology, and also like
mm,
because of the climate,
mm, mm,
impacts,
mm.
that we have this species that going extinct.
Why
These
can't
species, like for me, those are the ayat, the
we?
signs of God.
Mm,
So how come there is no outrage on
mm,
extinction? So I always like leave people with that. It doesn't matter, like you don't have to be Muslim, but think that in your, I mean, like in your head and your heart, that hopefully your hands will do something about that, because that is all the signs, the phrases in nature that is going like erased, extinct, that gone forever. So I feel that very deeply, because I see that verse in the scriptures is the same as the sign, the verse in nature, which is, all this, like everything that is in nature, the species, the plants, the animals, and everything, the whole system. So that's like, I want everyone that is in this, like join us today to really think about that and reflect, and like feel it in your heart, and like think about it and do something, like take some action. Doesn't matter like small or big, but do it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nana. And people, those are deep words of wisdom from Nana. And she's living with something very instructive. And that is that all the elements of nature, they are all storytellers of the works or the great work of a divine being. And our the destruction of those elements or destruction of those natural resources is actually a slap on that beautiful creature that we came on onto this scene and is sustaining our lives. And there should be this natural revolt and anger when people use their environment wrongly, when we just destroy the forest, we contaminated the local water, when we kill animals indiscriminately, and we just feel like we can just take out of the resource, the earth, without any intention to replenish or to even halt and reconsider how much we're taking out. This is a call for us, all of us. We're all on this planet, and there's no captain here. We're all on the crew, and if this ship, if it's going to sail, it's up to us, and if it's going to sink, it's also up to our inaction. Thank you, Nana, for leading action
Thank you,
and inspiring
Justin.
us to do this and to do more. I
Yes,
pray
and
we have more power to do more for humanity.
inshallah, God willing. And please, everyone, do and take actions.
All right. Then.
Thank
So,
you.
hey people, until I come your way again next week, Friday, same time, with another climate and environmental champion around the world, sharing their climate stories and hopefully inspiring you to take action. What Nana Firman is doing, it's also duplicatable. You can also do in your community. We all need everybody to be up and doing to build a better world for ourselves and also for future generations. And more importantly, learn from indigenous wisdom. They were here before science. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, all right. I'm coming.